Life will always test you. It will push you to the edge of your patience, your endurance, and sometimes even your hope. But within you, there exists a strength far greater than any obstacle you will ever face. Rising beyond limits isn't just about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. It's about believing in that quiet voice inside that says, you can do more. Even when the world screams, you've done enough. Every limit you think you have is often nothing more than a boundary created by fear, past failures, or the opinions of others. Think about it. Most of the greatest achievements in history were accomplished by people who refused to accept that the limit was the end. They saw it as the beginning of something greater. They understood that barriers are not there to stop you, but to challenge you to become more than you were yesterday. The truth is, you've already risen beyond limits many times without realizing it. Every time you survived a heartbreak, got back up after a failure, or pushed yourself when you were exhausted, you went further than the person you used to be. And that's what it's all about. Limits are not walls, they are checkpoints. They're meant to be reached, passed, and replaced with new ones. The mind loves comfort. It whispers to you, telling you to stay where it's safe, where it's predictable, where it's easy. But comfort zones, if you stay in them too long, become cages. And cages, no matter how comfortable, will never let you fly. Rising beyond limits means being willing to feel the discomfort of growth. It means daring to step into the unknown, even when it terrifies you. There will be moments when you want to quit, when your body is tired and your heart feels heavy. You will question yourself, wondering if you're really capable of more. That's when you must remember that strength is not built in ease. It's built in the struggle. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Steel is forged in fire. And your greatest version will only emerge when you embrace the challenges that are trying to shape you. To rise beyond limits, you must refuse to settle. You must decide that your dreams are worth the risk, the work, and the pain. You must be willing to keep going even when progress is slow, because every small step still moves you forward. The day you stop believing you can grow is the day you stop living fully. So take the leap, chase the goal that scares you. Attempt the impossible. Fail, learn, and try again. The road will not be smooth, and the nights will not always be easy, but the reward, your growth, your strength, your transformation will be worth everything. This is your life. Don't let fear decide how far you go. Don't let the past decide what you can become. Stand tall, face the unknown, and push forward with everything you have. Your limits are not the end. They are the doorway to your greatest self. Rise beyond them, and you will discover that you were always far more powerful than you ever imagined. Limits are often seen as the end of the road, a sign that we can go no further, that we have reached the edge of what is possible. But more often than not, these limits are not real, physical barriers. They are mental constructs we've accepted as truth. The human mind is incredibly powerful, but it can be both our greatest ally and our most cunning enemy. When we believe something is impossible, our mind will find countless reasons to confirm that belief. It will whisper excuses, magnify obstacles, and replay memories of past failures until we convince ourselves that moving forward is futile. But here is the reality: most of the limits we see are illusions, drawn not by our abilities, but by our fears, doubts, and the stories we've told ourselves for years. We live in a world where people have done things once thought impossible, running a mile in under 4 minutes, climbing the highest mountains, creating technology that connects the globe instantly, breaking records and redefining human achievement. None of those breakthroughs happened because someone decided to stop at the first sign of difficulty. They happened because someone refused to accept the limit as the end. They saw it for what it was: a challenge to be met, a problem to be solved, a barrier to be broken. They understood that limits are temporary. They shift as we grow, adapt, and learn. Think about a child learning to walk. At first, standing up feels impossible. The muscles aren't used to the movement, the balance is shaky, and falling is inevitable. If a child accepted that "I can't," After the first few falls, they would never walk, run, or jump. But children have not yet learned to build those mental walls. They try again and again, fueled by curiosity and instinct, until what once seemed impossible becomes effortless. Somewhere along the way, as we grow older, we start to believe in limits. We listen to people who tell us what can't be done. We let the weight of past mistakes convince us that we're incapable of change. The same persistence we had as children becomes clouded by the fear of failure, embarrassment, or rejection. The truth is, these mental barriers are often nothing more than comfort zones in disguise. We wrap ourselves in the safety of, "I can't," or "that's not for me," because it's easier than facing the uncertainty of trying. But staying within those walls comes at a cost. It keeps us from discovering what we are truly capable of. It traps us in the same place, living the same life, replaying the same patterns, while the world moves on. The moment you start challenging those beliefs, the moment you question whether the limit is real, is the moment you begin to reclaim your potential. Breaking free from mental limits begins with awareness. You must first recognize the beliefs that are holding you back. Ask yourself, who told me this was impossible? Was it based on facts, or was it based on someone else's fear? Many times our limits are inherited. We carry the doubts of parents, teachers, friends, or society, and wear them like truth without ever testing them ourselves. But their experience is not your destiny. Just because someone else failed doesn't mean you will. Just because they stopped doesn't mean you can't go further. It's also important to remember that limits feel real because the mind craves certainty. Uncertainty is uncomfortable. It makes us feel exposed, vulnerable, and insecure. That's why when we approach something unknown, the mind automatically throws up red flags. It says, "Stop here, you've gone far enough." But every great achievement happens beyond that point of discomfort. The first time you push past it, it feels terrifying. The second time, it feels challenging but doable. Eventually, the barrier disappears entirely, and you wonder why it ever seemed impossible in the first place. Consider athletes who train for years to improve their performance. At first, they may believe they can't lift a certain weight, run a certain distance, or compete at a certain level. But with consistent effort, the limit moves. They grow stronger, faster, more capable, not because their body magically changed overnight, but because they refuse to let their mind dictate the end point. The same applies to any area of life, business, art, education, relationships. Your capacity is almost always greater than you think, but you'll never know it if you stop at the first wall you hit. One of the most dangerous things about mental limits is that they can become self-fulfilling. If you believe you can't do something, you won't try hard enough to prove yourself wrong. You'll subconsciously sabotage your efforts, avoid opportunities, or quit early, ensuring the limit remains in place. That's why mindset is everything. If you approach a challenge believing it is possible, your actions will reflect that belief. You'll try harder, push longer, and seek solutions instead of excuses. It's not about ignoring reality or pretending difficulties don't exist. Limits do exist in certain forms. We all have physical boundaries, time constraints, and skill gaps. But those are different from the mental limits we place on ourselves. Physical limits can often be extended with training, creativity, and persistence. Skill gaps can be filled with learning. Time constraints can be managed with focus and discipline. The only limits that are truly permanent are the ones we refuse to challenge. Sometimes, rising beyond mental barriers requires changing your environment. If you are surrounded by people who constantly reinforce your limits, it becomes harder to believe you can break them. On the other hand, if you surround yourself with people who push you, encourage you, and show you what's possible, your perspective changes. Inspiration is contagious. Witnessing someone else rise beyond their limits can ignite the courage for you to do the same. Another key to overcoming mental limits is reframing failure. Too often, we see failure as proof that we've reached the end. But failure is not final. It is feedback. It tells us what doesn't work so we can adjust and try again. Every failure carries a lesson. And those lessons are what give us the tools to go further next time. If you adopt this mindset, you will see limits not as permanent walls, but as temporary challenges that require strategy and persistence. There is a simple truth. The human spirit is designed to grow. We are meant to adapt, to learn, to evolve. Stagnation feels unnatural because it goes against our nature. That restless feeling you get when you're stuck is not a sign of weakness. It's a signal that there's more in you waiting to be unleashed. Your mind might try to convince you to stay where it's safe, but your soul will always crave expansion. That craving is your reminder that your limits are not the end. Think back to moments in your life when you accomplished something you once thought was impossible. It might have been graduating, getting a job, overcoming an illness, learning a skill, or simply surviving a difficult period. At the time, it felt like the edge of your capacity, but looking back, you see that it was only a stepping stone. Every time you've broken through a limit, you've proven to yourself that you are capable of more than you thought. That's the power of perspective. Once you've expanded your boundaries, they never shrink back to the same size. So, when you face your next challenge, remind yourself this is not the end. This is not the final destination. This is just a marker on the road, and the road keeps going as long as you keep walking. Your potential is not fixed. It grows with every step you take beyond what you thought was possible. The limits in your mind are not walls, they are doors. And doors are meant to be opened. The choice is always yours to stay inside the comfort of your current boundaries or push forward into the unknown. One path offers safety, predictability, and stagnation. The other offers growth, discovery, and transformation. It's not easy, and it will never be free from fear or doubt. But if you choose to keep going, to rise beyond the mental barriers, you will find that the limits you once believed in were never real at all. They were only waiting for you to prove them wrong. Growth is rarely comfortable. It demands that you step into the unfamiliar, take risks, and face challenges that feel bigger than you. Comfort zones are seductive because they feel safe, predictable, and controlled. In that space, you know what to expect. You don't have to deal with the sting of failure, the awkwardness of learning something new, or the uncertainty of unknown territory. But that safety comes with a cost. The cost of unrealized potential, untapped strength, and missed opportunities. Staying in your comfort zone is like sitting in a warm room when you know the world outside is vast and full of possibilities. You may be cozy, but you're not moving forward. Real growth starts the moment you step outside that safe bubble. It happens when you push against the boundaries of what you know and challenge the limits of what you think you can do. Imagine a seed planted in the soil. It has everything it needs to survive underground, but it will never grow into a tree unless it breaks through the dirt into the open air. That breakthrough is not easy. It requires the seed to leave the comfort of its familiar darkness and push into a space it's never experienced before. The same is true for you. You can stay where you are and survive, or you can push beyond what's familiar and truly grow. The discomfort you feel when you step out of your comfort zone is not a sign you're doing something wrong. It's proof that you're moving into a space where transformation can happen. Muscles don't grow without tension. Skills don't develop without practice. Confidence doesn't build without challenge. Everything that expands you requires that initial resistance, the moment when your body, mind, or emotions protest because they're being stretched in ways they're not used to. That tension is the birthplace of progress. The irony is that most of us crave change but resist the process that creates it. We want better health, stronger relationships, greater success, and more fulfillment, yet we cling to habits and routines that keep us comfortable. We wait for the perfect moment to take action, telling ourselves that we'll start when we feel ready. But readiness rarely comes before action. If you wait to feel fully prepared before you take a leap, you'll wait forever. Growth doesn't wait for you to be ready. It demands that you move first and figure things out along the way. Stepping outside your comfort zone doesn't always mean making dramatic life changes overnight. Sometimes it's as simple as having a difficult conversation you've been avoiding, taking on a project that intimidates you, or saying yes to an opportunity you don't feel qualified for yet. These small acts of courage build a foundation for bigger leaps later. Every time you push yourself in small ways, you expand the edges of your comfort zone, making the next challenge feel more manageable. One of the reasons growth feels so uncomfortable is because it forces you to face fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. These fears can be powerful, but they are also signs that you're on the right path. If you feel fear, it means you're venturing into territory that matters to you. Something worth doing, something with the potential to change you. People often think the goal is to eliminate fear before acting, but the real power lies in acting in spite of it. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's the decision that something else is more important than your fear. Consider how much of your current comfort zone was once unfamiliar. There was a time when your job felt overwhelming, when driving a car seemed complicated, when speaking in front of a group made your heart race. But through repeated exposure, what was once uncomfortable became second nature. That's how growth works. You face the challenge, you adapt, and you make it your new normal. Then, if you want to keep growing, you seek the next challenge. Comfort zones are meant to expand, not to trap you. One of the greatest rewards of stepping outside your comfort zone is the discovery of who you really are. When you stay in familiar territory, you operate with only a fraction of your potential. It's easy to believe you've reached your limits when you've never tested them. But the moment you're pushed into situations where you must adapt, you uncover strengths, skills, and resilience you didn't know you had. You begin to see yourself not just as who you've been, but as who you can become. Growth also changes the way you see failure. Inside your comfort zone, failure is something to be avoided at all costs because it threatens your sense of safety. Outside your comfort zone, failure becomes a teacher. It gives you information you can use to improve. It toughens you, and it prepares you for bigger challenges ahead. People who achieve great things are not those who never fail. They're the ones who step outside their comfort zones, so often that failure becomes part of the process, not the end of it. Of course, stepping outside your comfort zone can be lonely at times. Not everyone will understand why you're taking risks or making changes. Some may even try to pull you back into familiar territory because your growth challenges their own comfort. But remember this, your journey is yours. The people who truly support you will encourage your growth, even when it takes you in directions they don't fully understand. The good news is that the discomfort doesn't last forever. What feels terrifying today will feel normal tomorrow if you keep showing up. The key is consistency, continuing to take action even when it feels awkward, even when progress seems slow. Over time, you'll look back and realize that the things that once scared you have become your new baseline, and your capacity for growth has multiplied. Stepping outside your comfort zone doesn't just benefit you, it impacts everyone around you. When you grow, you inspire others to do the same. Your courage gives permission for others to face their own fears. You become a living example that growth is possible, that limits can be pushed, and that the rewards of courage are worth the risk. The world is filled with opportunities disguised as discomfort. Every new skill you learn, every relationship you build, every obstacle you overcome adds layers to who you are. But those layers can only be added when you're willing to move past what's easy. You can't build strength without resistance. You can't gain wisdom without experience. And you can't create change without action. So if you feel stuck, restless, or unfulfilled, ask yourself, when was the last time I did something that scared me a little? When was the last time I challenged myself to grow? The answers to those questions will tell you whether you're living inside your comfort zone or pushing its boundaries. And if you find that you've been playing it safe for too long, remember that you don't have to leap into the deep end all at once. You just have to take the first step. The life you want, the person you want to become, the goals you want to achieve, They all exist outside your comfort zone. It's not enough to dream about them from a distance. You have to be willing to step into the unknown, to embrace the uncertainty, and to trust that you'll figure it out as you go. Growth doesn't come from waiting for the perfect moment or for fear to disappear. It comes from moving forward in the face of fear, from choosing progress over comfort, and from believing that the discomfort you feel today will become the strength you carry tomorrow. Struggle is often misunderstood. Many see it as a sign that something is going wrong, that life is unfair, or that they are not capable enough. But struggle is not the enemy. It is the sculptor. It shapes us, molds us, and forges the strength we carry forward in life. Without struggle, there is no resilience. Without difficulty, there is no depth. And without resistance, there is no growth. Every person who has ever achieved greatness has walked through seasons of struggle. You might see their success now, their confidence, their skill, and their composure. But behind that is a story of battles fought in private. Struggle is the hidden classroom where strength is taught. It demands patience when you want quick results. It teaches perseverance when you want to give up. It forces you to face fears, weaknesses, and insecurities until you grow into someone stronger than you were before. Think of the process of forging steel. The raw metal on its own is not strong enough for great tasks. To become durable, it must be placed in the fire, heated to extreme temperatures, and hammered into shape. The process is intense, but it transforms the material into something unbreakable. We are no different. Life's struggles are the fire and the hammer. The heat represents the pressure we feel when life tests us, and the hammer represents the challenges that pound away at our comfort. In the moment, it can feel like too much to bear, but without that process, our strength remains undeveloped. We often wish for an easy life free from obstacles, but an easy life rarely produces strong people. Comfort can make us soft, complacent, and unprepared for the inevitable storms of life. Struggle, on the other hand, toughens us. It forces us to adapt, to think differently, to keep moving forward, even when the path is unclear. Strength is not built in the moments when everything is going well. It's built when things go wrong and you choose to keep going anyway. It's in the struggle that you learn who you really are. When everything is smooth, you can hide your weaknesses behind convenience and predictability. But when life challenges you, your true character is revealed. You discover how much patience you really have, how deep your courage runs, and how determined you are to rise after being knocked down. These discoveries may not feel pleasant in the moment, but they are gifts. They give you an unshakable confidence, because once you've survived one battle, you know you have the capacity to survive the next. The struggle also teaches you empathy. When you've been through hardship, you understand what it feels like to be broken, tired, or hopeless. This understanding allows you to connect with others on a deeper level, to offer genuine compassion instead of shallow sympathy. Strong people are often some of the most caring people you'll meet, not because life was easy for them, but because they know firsthand how hard it can be. One of the most powerful truths about struggle is that it's temporary, but the strength it builds is permanent. Every challenge you overcome adds a layer of resilience to your character. Over time, you find yourself handling situations with more calm, more wisdom, and more confidence than before. What used to break you now barely shakes you. That's the beauty of strength earned through struggle. It becomes part of who you are. Of course, in the middle of struggle, it's hard to see its purpose. When you're exhausted, when things keep going wrong, when you feel like you've given everything and it's still not enough, you may wonder if there's any point at all. But often, the lessons of struggle reveal themselves in hindsight. Looking back, you realize that the person you became was worth the pain you endured. You see that without that difficult season, you would not have gained the courage, wisdom, or perspective you have now. The key to using struggle as a tool for strength is your mindset. If you see struggle as punishment, you will resist it, fight it, and try to escape it as quickly as possible. But if you see it as a teacher, you will lean into it, learn from it, and allow it to change you. This doesn't mean you have to enjoy the pain. Very few people enjoy the process, but it means you trust that the process is leading somewhere better. You also have to remember that strength is not built all at once. Just as muscles grow gradually with repeated effort, personal strength grows with each struggle you face. Every small challenge you overcome adds to your inner reserves, preparing you for the bigger challenges ahead. Life has a way of giving you just enough difficulty to stretch you without breaking you completely. It's in those moments when you're stretched but not shattered that the greatest growth happens. The strongest people are not those who have never struggled, but those who have struggled the most and still chosen to rise. They carry scars, but those scars are reminders of battles won. They may not be perfect, but they are unshakable because they've been tested. They know that no matter what comes next, they've faced worse and made it through. Struggle also has a way of clarifying what matters most. When life gets hard, distractions fall away, and you see what truly deserves your energy and attention. You learn to let go of what doesn't serve you, to prioritize what's important, and to appreciate the small victories along the way. This clarity is another form of strength. It helps you navigate life with focus and purpose. It's worth remembering that every great story, every inspiring journey, involves struggle. The hero is never made in the easy moments. They are made in the moments when everything seems lost, yet they keep fighting. Your own story is no different. The struggles you face now are the chapters that will inspire others later. Someday, someone will look at you and say, if they could survive that, I can survive this. So, when you're in the middle of a struggle, remind yourself that this is not the end. It's part of your training. Every hardship is adding weight to the bar you're lifting in life. The more you lift, the stronger you get. And that strength is something no one can take from you. You carry it forward into every future challenge, every new chapter, every opportunity that requires courage. Life will never be without struggle, but that's not something to fear. It's something to embrace because it means you are alive, growing, and being shaped into the person you were meant to be. Struggle is the fire, and you are the steel. The heat may be intense, the blows may be hard, but when the process is done, you will emerge stronger, sharper, and ready for whatever comes next. In a world that celebrates big wins, flashy breakthroughs, and overnight success stories, it's easy to forget the quiet truth. Small steps still count. We often measure progress by giant leaps, forgetting that those leaps are almost always the result of countless small movements forward. The skyscraper is built brick by brick. The book is written word by word. The journey of 1,000 miles is walked step by step. Yet, in our impatience, we sometimes dismiss these small steps, thinking they're insignificant, when in reality, they are the only way real change happens. Small steps are powerful because they're achievable. They don't demand that you be perfect, fully ready, or fearless from the start. They simply require that you move. When you take one small action toward your goal, no matter how minor it feels, you've already shifted from inaction to action. And that shift is everything. It's the difference between standing still and making progress. The human mind tends to overestimate what can be accomplished in a short burst of effort and underestimate what can be achieved over time with consistency. You might look at your dream and feel overwhelmed by its size. You imagine the years of work, the countless skills you'll need to develop, and the massive effort required, and you freeze. But the truth is, you don't have to do it all at once. You only have to take the next step, then the one after that, and keep going. Over time, those steps will accumulate into something extraordinary. Think of how rivers carve through rock. The water doesn't break the stone with force, it shapes it with persistence. Day after day, drop after drop, the river changes the landscape entirely. Your small, consistent actions work the same way. You may not see results immediately, but if you stay the course, change is inevitable. The key is to trust the process even when progress is invisible. One of the reasons small steps are so important is that they build momentum. Taking one small action makes it easier to take another. If you've ever tried to push a heavy object, you know that the hardest part is getting it to start moving. Once it's in motion, it's easier to keep it going. The same principle applies to your goals. The first step might feel heavy, but once you've taken it, you're no longer starting from zero. Small steps also help you build confidence. Every time you follow through on an action, no matter how small, you prove to yourself that you're capable of moving forward. This self-trust compounds over time. Eventually, you stop doubting whether you can make progress because you've built a track record of doing it. And confidence is not built in the big moments alone. It's built in the quiet, consistent acts of showing up for yourself. It's important to remember that small steps don't mean slow progress forever. Sometimes, taking small steps is the only way to prepare yourself for bigger moves. They allow you to learn, to adjust, and to strengthen your foundation so that when bigger opportunities arrive, you're ready for them. People who skip small steps often find themselves unprepared for the weight of sudden success. It's the steady, patient builders who are ready when the moment comes. There's also a mental freedom in focusing on small steps. Big goals can feel intimidating to the point of paralysis, but when you break them down into manageable pieces, they become less overwhelming. Instead of thinking, I have to write a whole book, you think, I'll write for 15 minutes today. Instead of saying, I have to get in the best shape of my life, you say, I'll go for a short walk today. The beauty of this approach is that small steps are easy to commit to, and once you've taken them, they often lead to more. One trap many people fall into is believing that if they can't make huge progress, there's no point in trying at all. But waiting for the perfect moment to make a big leap often means never starting. Small steps allow you to start now with what you have, exactly where you are. You don't have to wait for the stars to align. You just have to take the next right step. Another gift of small steps is that they allow you to course correct along the way. If you try to leap too far too fast, you might find yourself heading in the wrong direction and not realizing it until you've gone too far. But when you move in small increments, you can adjust your path as you go, making sure you're still heading toward your real destination. This flexibility can save you time, energy, and frustration. It's also worth noting that small steps often have a ripple effect. One positive action can inspire another, and before you know it, the change is compound. Start by drinking more water, and you might find yourself having more energy to exercise. Start by reading for 10 minutes a day, and you may develop a love of learning that transforms your thinking. Small habits, when layered over time, can completely transform your life. The story of transformation is rarely glamorous in the beginning. It's waking up earlier than you want to. It's choosing the healthy meal when you'd rather indulge. It's putting away a little bit of money each month when the temptation to spend is strong. It's sending that one email, making that one phone call, or taking that one class. None of these actions seem like they're changing your life in the moment, but they are. They're laying the bricks for the future you're building. Even setbacks feel less discouraging when you focus on small steps. If you stumble, it's easier to recover when your progress is built on consistent habits rather than one big, unsustainable push. Small steps give you resilience because you know that you can start again at any time. You're not dependent on rare bursts of motivation. You've built a lifestyle of progress. The truth is, the big moments people admire are just the visible peaks of a mountain of small, unseen steps. The athletes standing on the podium trained in quiet gyms when no one was watching. The successful entrepreneurs spent nights refining their craft before the world knew their name. The artist who created a masterpiece began with a single stroke. Every great achievement is built from the ground up, one step at a time. So when you look at your goals, don't get discouraged by how far you have to go. Focus instead on the step you can take today. It might not feel like much now, but every step counts. And one day, you'll look back and realize that those small steps carried you further than you ever imagined. The change you dream of will not happen in a single moment. It will happen because you kept showing up, day after day, taking one step after another, until you became the person who could reach it. Life will offer you many opportunities to settle. It will give you chances to take the safer path, the easier choice, the option that requires less effort and carries less risk. And on the surface, these choices may seem sensible. They might protect you from failure, shield you from discomfort, and keep you within familiar boundaries. But if you keep accepting less than you are truly capable of, you will eventually wake up one day and realize you have built a life that feels small compared to the one you could have lived. Settling is not about making peace with where you are. It's about giving up on the person you have the potential to become. Refusing to settle means understanding that your true potential is far greater than your current situation, and that the gap between where you are and where you could be is filled with opportunities disguised as challenges. It means acknowledging that comfort can be dangerous when it becomes a permanent home, because comfort numbs ambition. The moment you decide you are okay with less, you start lowering the ceiling of your possibilities. And the more you lower that ceiling, the harder it becomes to even imagine something greater. Deep inside, you already know what settling feels like. It's that quiet voice of dissatisfaction that whispers, "This isn't it." When you go through your day, it's the subtle frustration you feel when you see someone else living the kind of life you secretly desire, and you tell yourself they were lucky or born with better chances, when deep down you know it's not luck. It's a refusal to accept less than they're capable of. The truth is, every person who has achieved something extraordinary has faced that same crossroad. You face now the choice between staying comfortable or pushing for more. Settling is often rooted in fear, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. These fears convince you to aim lower, to take the path that requires the least from you. But here's the reality: the life you want will never demand less from you. It will demand more. More energy, more patience, more courage, and more resilience. And that's not something to avoid. It's something to embrace. Because the process of giving more is what transforms you into someone who can handle more. Refusing to settle requires a shift in mindset. You must start asking yourself not, "What's the easiest I can do?" but "What's the most I can give?" This doesn't mean working yourself into exhaustion or chasing unrealistic perfection. It means demanding excellence from yourself in the things that matter most. It means refusing to accept mediocrity in your relationships, your work, your health, and your dreams. It means recognizing that the standard you set for yourself will determine the quality of your life. There will be people who tell you that wanting more means you're ungrateful. But wanting to grow doesn't mean you lack gratitude. It means you understand that gratitude and ambition can coexist. You can be thankful for what you have while still striving for what you're capable of. In fact, the most grateful people are often the ones who make the most of their gifts rather than letting them go unused. Settling, on the other hand, is a form of waste. It's leaving your potential on the shelf to collect dust. When you refuse to settle, you make choices based on where you want to go, not just where you are. You surround yourself with people who challenge you rather than those who simply validate you. You take risks that scare you because you know that fear is often a sign that you're moving toward growth. You say no to opportunities that are good enough, so you can hold out for the ones that are truly great. This discipline can be uncomfortable, but it's the discomfort of stretching yourself into the person you're meant to become. And yes, refusing to settle means facing more setbacks. When you aim high, you increase the chances of failure. But failure, as hard as it feels, is always a better teacher than comfort. Every time you fail, you gain information, you develop resilience, and you sharpen your skills. If you keep aiming low just to avoid these moments, you rob yourself of the growth that could make you unstoppable. Think of the people you admire most: leaders, innovators, creators, athletes. None of them reached their peak by saying, "This is good enough." They kept pushing, even when it was uncomfortable, even when others thought they were asking for too much. They understood that life's richest rewards are reserved for those who refuse to live halfway. So, what does refusing to settle look like for you right now? Maybe it's going after that promotion instead of staying in a job that doesn't challenge you. Maybe it's starting the business you've been thinking about for years instead of telling yourself someday. Maybe it's walking away from a relationship that drains you instead of accepting it as your fate. Maybe it's prioritizing your health instead of ignoring the signs your body is giving you. This is not about chasing more for the sake of more. It's about refusing to live below your potential. It's about making sure that when you look back on your life, you don't have to wonder, what if I had tried harder? Or, what if I had aimed higher? You deserve to know the answer. And the only way to know it is to give your all. There will be moments when you feel like quitting. There will be nights when the effort seems endless and the results feel distant. But remember this, every great success story is built on days when the person could have settled but chose not to. Your strength is forged in those moments of decision, when you push forward not because it's easy, but because you refuse to accept a life that's smaller than your potential. One day, you will stand on the other side of this struggle and thank yourself for not giving in. You will realize that the person you became in the process was far more valuable than the goal itself. You will understand that the journey wasn't about proving anything to the world. It was about showing yourself what you were truly made of. Life will give you countless chances to choose easy over great, average over exceptional, safe over extraordinary. Each time you will have a choice. And each time you can choose to rise above the temptation to settle. Keep choosing the harder, braver path. Keep demanding more from yourself. Keep chasing the life you know deep down you're capable of living. Because when you refuse to settle, you don't just change your life, you change who you are. And that, more than anything else, is the greatest reward. Your greatest self lies beyond your perceived limits, because the boundaries you believe are holding you back are rarely absolute. They are often illusions shaped by fear, doubt, or the voice of inexperience. Every time you tell yourself, I can't, what you're really saying is, I don't think I can yet. The truth is, the gap between who you are and who you want to be is not a fixed wall. It's a stretch of road that can be walked, run, or even crawled across if you're willing to move forward. Your perceived limits are not the end of the journey. They are the edge of the map, the point where you have never explored before. And beyond that edge lies the version of you that you've never met, a version stronger, wiser, and more capable than you imagine today. We often think limits are unchangeable because they feel so real in the moment. You run until your legs burn and think, this is all I can do. You study until your brain feels tired and think, I can't learn anymore. You try something new, fail once, and assume you've found your boundary. But limits are not fixed, they're flexible. The body grows stronger when you push it. The mind expands when challenged. The heart becomes braver when tested. If you give in to the feeling of, this is enough, you'll never discover just how far enough can stretch. Think about any great achievement you've seen in the world. Every athlete who broke a record, every innovator who built something revolutionary, every survivor who overcame incredible odds, all of them had moments where they felt they'd reached their limit. But instead of turning back, they leaned in. They pushed one step further, and that single step beyond the limit changed everything. The magic is not in what you do before you hit the wall, it's in what you do after. That's when your greatest self emerges, because you're no longer running on habit or comfort. You're running on pure determination, creativity, and resilience. Pushing beyond perceived limits requires a shift in mindset. You have to learn to see discomfort not as a signal to stop, but as a sign that you're growing. The moment you feel resistance, the tiredness, the fear, the frustration, that's when you know you've arrived at the doorway to something greater. Most people turn around at this point because it feels unsafe. But the few who keep going despite the uncertainty, are the ones who discover that their limits were never as small as they believed. Your greatest self will not be found in moments of ease. It will be forged in the struggle, in the times when you have to talk yourself into trying one more time. It will come from the situations that demand more of you than you thought you had to give. This is why growth so often feels uncomfortable. It's the process of stretching past the familiar and into the extraordinary. Just as muscles tear and rebuild to grow stronger, your mind and spirit expand when you repeatedly step into challenges that force you to become more. But here's the key: you cannot meet your greatest self by accident. It requires intentional effort. You have to be willing to go past the line you've drawn for yourself. You have to set goals that feel a little intimidating, take risks that make you second guess yourself, and keep showing up when progress feels invisible. It means refusing to quit simply because the road is steep. If you wait for the moment when it's easy, you'll never get there. There's also something deeply empowering about breaking through a limit you thought was unshakable. The moment you do it once, you realize that every other limit you carry might be just as flexible. That first breakthrough becomes proof, and proof changes everything. Suddenly, you no longer see yourself as someone held back by circumstances. You see yourself as someone who can adapt, endure, and overcome. That shift in identity is the birthplace of confidence. It's also important to remember that your greatest self doesn't happen overnight. You won't wake up one morning having unlocked the peak version of you without effort. It's a process of repeatedly reaching the edge, stepping beyond it, and expanding the definition of who you are. Every time you do it, your comfort zone grows, your confidence deepens, and your capacity for more increases. The person you are today may not be ready for your biggest dreams, but the person you'll become after repeatedly challenging yourself will be. Fear will always try to guard the doorway to your greatest self. It will whisper that you're not ready, that it's too risky, that failure will hurt too much. But fear is not a warning to stop. It's a sign that you're about to enter uncharted territory. And uncharted territory is exactly where your greatest potential lies. When you step into it, even with trembling hands and uncertain steps, you begin to meet the version of yourself you've been chasing all along. So don't stop at the first sign of difficulty. Don't settle for the familiar when you know there's something greater beyond it. Take the extra step, the extra attempt, the extra moment of courage. Your greatest self is not waiting in the safe, predictable places. It's waiting just beyond the point where you usually stop, in the place where your comfort ends and your true capacity begins. Cross that line, and you will discover not only new strength, but also a deeper understanding of what you are truly capable of. When you look back one day, you'll see that the moments when you went beyond your perceived limits were the turning points of your life. They were the bridges that carried you from who you were to who you were meant to be. And you'll realize that those limits were never your true boundaries. They were only the starting lines for the race toward your greatest self.